Oh, look, we're live.
Yes, we're live. It's so exciting. It's the end of the week. It's been a very, very busy week for both of us, but we're here. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I feel like a few brain cells were lost last night because I watched Men, the new movie from Alex Garland, and wow,
It's so
I
bad.
just you know, a part of me kind of likes watching bad movies because they make for very fun reviews and it kind of brings out my creativity. Like just all of you watching out there, watch my review and just like watch the first 10 seconds. I guarantee you it'll make you laugh. But yeah, oh my god, that movie was awful. Like, I love A24. I love this director. Watch Dread. If any of you have never seen it, watch Dread. It's really good. But wow, like there's certain A24 horror movies that are unaware of how silly they are. And so they lean into that silliness and they think that it's scary when in reality it's really not. Like people like rave about how scary Midsommar is, and I think cinematography wise and acting wise, I think it's a very good movie. But there is some silly stuff that happens there, especially involving a pie. If you know, you know. And literally, the ending of that involves one of the characters in a bear costume being burned alive in a house. Like they had a man in a bear suit, and he didn't even punch anyone out. Like wasted opportunity right there. But
So,
anyway,
yeah,
men was terrible. Like you
and
all are
and
smart for not seeing that and
and the
watching
thing that
us.
makes
You
men
are
especially insufferable is that it's trying so hard to be art and be pretentious and be that it just makes you more annoyed and irritated, and
yeah.
it's supposed to be talking to women, and as a woman I just got more and more and more and more irritated by the movie.
If I want to watch a movie about how sucky men are, I'll just watch Promising Young Woman.
Yeah.
At least that had an orchestral cover of Toxic by Britney Spears. Like what
Well,
does
I
this
mean,
movie
at
have?
least that had something defined that it was trying to say about a woman who had become toxic because of what had happened to her. She's not somebody that we're supposed to admire or like follow her example, obviously, and or at least it seems obvious to me. And she's not a reliable narrator. She's not a good person. She has been warped by these things that happened to her. And so really you're supposed to take away from that movie about the way that we treat victims, the way we talk about them, the way that we interact with them, and sort of just the whole campus rape culture that we still haven't gotten rid of in this country. So there's like something defined that we're supposed to have something to say, and this every single metaphor just got more groan worthy and more annoying and more as I'm sitting there and I'm like, one of those moments where you just think, what am I doing with my life? Why am I doing this?
Yeah, and it's like and especially with Promising Young Woman, my compassionate side really did feel for that character. Like the movie did a good
Yeah.
job of showing that she went through quite a bit and I was on her side for the most part, but I do not agree with the things that she did. So, but at the same
Yeah.
time it's like you're on her side, but you're also kind of not on her side. Like you're on her
Which is
side in terms of get back at the people who did these things to you and those who covered it up. But at the
yeah.
same time, I mean,
That's what makes a compelling
you're killing
character
people.
though.
That's what makes it compelling. I
Yeah.
agree. With men, oh my god, wow, Rory Kinnear, God bless his soul, but I swear he should have had some kind of like creative control as to like, no, I am not like no, I'm not doing that. I'm not wearing like a plastic Marilyn Manson mask and calling Jesse Buckley a stupid B word that rhymes with hitch. No way. I'm trying to scare people here. Like, what are you
Yeah.
thinking, Adam?
Uh,
Adam Alex Garland.
well, we should say we do have the chat room open if anybody wants to make any comments. There's a super chat if anyone feels so inclined. But yeah, I said in my review that I said now we have men which purports to give us a folk horror movie, but instead serves up a pretentious, heavy-handed, non-scary piece of art house junk.
That ending, though, like
Ending. So
I,
bad. It's
I
so
want
bad.
that was one of those endings where I just like I want to walk off of this planet.
Mhm.
I wanted to do the like that scene in The Office where Stanley talks about his dream of commissioning an abandoned lighthouse and it launching into space. That's what I wanted to do at the end of this movie. When it just ended, I was like, "That's it." Like The Shining, but with less snow and less tension and far worse in every considerable fashion. Like that's what you
And
decided
I
to make
think that
this
the whole
movie?
biblical bringing in the biblical allegories,
Oh
so it's as
my
if it's not only
lord.
that these men are toxic and evil, it's literally since the creation of man, you know, grief.
The priest was too much. It was
If you're
like,
going to condemn half the human race, you better have something more interesting to say than this movie.
yeah, it's like when I saw this priest, and as a Catholic, I am aware of various things that have happened in the Catholic Church, and I
Yeah,
like watch Spotlight if you need more information on that.
right.
Like, I'm fully aware of that, but at the same time, when this priest did some of the things that he did in this movie, I was just like, I want to flip the bird at the screen right now, but I know
Yeah.
there are other people here, so I'm polite, so I won't be doing that. But just know that in my head, I am absolutely doing that.
If I hadn't been a professional film critic at a professional film screening, I would have left at that ending. It was so bad.
I feel like that one Siskel and Ebert review where they saw that one movie, I can't remember what it was called, but they were pondering why the other people were there because they had to be there because it was their job. But they were like, why do they stay? They're
Yeah. Go
like what?
outside.
Go outside and talk. It's one of my favorite reviews of theirs, and I can't remember
And the
because it
whole
was
staring at a blank wall. Then I'd be
yeah,
alone in my thoughts. That would be way better.
it was the same weekend as they saw Say Anything, so I don't know if
Yeah.
that narrows it down.
Oh, well, yes. So Men was terrible. Don't see it. It's so bad. But have your eyes out instead. I don't know when it's getting a rollout or whatever, but keep an eye out for a movie called Hit the Road. It's so good. I absolutely loved it. It's an Iranian film by a new director, first time director by Pana Panaki is the name. And it's about this family that's trying to smuggle the older, they don't give them names. It's mother, father, younger brother, older brother. And they're trying to smuggle older brother out to Turkey, out of Iran. But it's not like a grim movie because like the younger brother is kind of oblivious to everything that's going on. So he's treating it just like a normal family road trip kind of. And he was so cute, the little boy. Oh my gosh. And the I just loved it. I thought it was so well written, so well done. It makes Iran look like the most beautiful place you've ever been to. It was gorgeous and I don't know, I just really loved it. It was great. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, that
One of my
sounds awesome. It's highly unlikely that it'll probably come to Orlando, but I'm not
mhm.
sure if it'll come anywhere near me. But I'll be
Yeah,
on the
keep an eye
lookout
out for it when it gets to streaming or whatever cuz it's definitely my favorite movie of the year. I thought it was so good.
because I've been looking for this movie called On the Count of Three, which I
Oh
saw the
yeah.
trailer for as part of my preview with Jacob over on our podcast, and I was like, "This looks awesome," but it has come nowhere near me. So I think I'll have
Yeah,
to
that took
see it.
forever. I think that was at it wasn't at Sundance this year, it was at Sundance the year before. Now it's
Oh wow,
finally getting a release. I
wow,
didn't see it.
they're taking their sweet time with it.
Yeah, they are. They really are. So, anyway, well, today for Hidden Gems, we are talking about Paramount Plus. And when we first covered Paramount Plus, do you remember that we struggled to even come up with our 5 picks? They
It
just did
was
not have much.
it was very hard. We've covered free services like Hoopla, Canopy, Tubi, and we've had easier times doing that than
Mhm.
like the flagship, network for Viacom CVS. And
But
I don't know how that works, but
yeah, they've really upped their game
mm.
in the last year. They've added a ton of movies, new shows, different things like that. It's definitely gotten better.
Yeah, they're doing the whole live sports thing now, which I mean, Peacock and Hulu are also technically doing, or well, ESPN Plus is tied into Hulu now, but
Yeah.
they are doing that as well. So it was definitely easier picking my picks this time around.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest pull for me with Paramount is they have Survivor
Mm.
on Paramount, and I'm a huge Survivor nerd. So that's a lot of fun. We have the finale coming up next week for the latest season of Survivor. But that's not a hidden gem. It's just that's the biggest draw when I think of Paramount Plus for
Yeah,
me.
and also shout out to the service. All of the classic Twilight Zone episodes are on there, and I've been watching them
Oh
doing
yeah.
my Twilight Zone series. So shout out to the network for having those available.
Mm. Yeah. Well, let's talk about our picks. um, all right. Well, what's your first pick?
So my first choice is a movie from 2021, and it was it was just barely off my top 10 of the year list. There were just 10 others that I liked better than this one. Actually, I can't remember if it was on or wasn't on. I'd have to look up the list. But it's called Wrath of Man. This was directed by Guy Ritchie and it starred Jason Statham. And well, it tells the story of a man played by Statham who is seemingly out one day with his son because he doesn't see him too terribly often. But due to an unfortunate event, his son dies in an accident. And so he's like, you know what? I'm just going to John Wick this thing and find the people that did this. And this movie, being a Guy Ritchie movie, it's a bit of an unconventional narrative. It's a movie that's kind of told in reverse, not reverse, but it's in a bit of a weird order. You get the inciting incident first, or well, not the inciting incident, but you get Statham joining this armored truck company, and then you get the inciting incident, and then you see what led him to joining that company. You learn things about what he does for a living, which I won't spoil here because it's actually quite important to the linchpin of the narrative. You see the people that caused the accident. One of them is actually the actor Josh Hartnett, which I saw when I saw him. I was like, wow, I haven't seen you in forever, but he was really good here. I'm a big fan of Guy Ritchie, and just one of his latest movie before this, The Gentleman, was on my top 10 of 2020. I didn't see that many movies of that year for very obvious reasons, but that movie was just fantastic. And I can definitely understand because Guy Ritchie movies tend to be a bit stylized for some people, and I totally understand why they wouldn't be fans of it. But this is just a movie for me. It's got great
Mhm.
action. It's a great story. I was able to follow it just fine. And the ending, such a good ending. I feel
Mm.
like this movie really doesn't get talked about a lot. And so I think it is a hidden gem despite its recency. And it's got Post Malone as a thug. So
Oh,
there
there
you
you go.
go.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't seen that many of his crime type movies. These type of movies. Actually, I don't think I've seen any of them. I'm not that big a fan of his Sherlock Holmes movies. I didn't love his King Arthur movie. His Aladdin, I didn't love it, but it was okay, I guess. So he had a rough stretch for there for me, but I've heard a lot of people talk about this one and The Gentleman and some of those others that you
Yeah, he's
mentioned.
definitely returned to more of his style of movie because for a good while in like the 2010s, he was doing these bigger movies like the Sherlock Holmes movies, which I personally like. But then he was doing Aladdin, which I didn't hate like the other Disney live action remakes, but I didn't really love either. Will Smith was doing his best to make it work, but I just failed to see the point of it all. And
Yeah.
King Arthur, I admire the scope of what he tried to do, but in execution, it just didn't work. So
We got a super chat from Jeremiah. Thanks so much. That's so nice of you. The Rescue Rangers movie is out and was clearly a result of a drinking game, and I kind of love it.
I've actually been seeing some really good reviews for that. It's been maybe pushing me towards checking it out. It's from the same creative team that did Pop Star Never Stop, Never Stopping. So I'm just like, well, I love that movie. So, I mean, it's up my alley.
I posted my review yesterday and I gave it an 8 out of 10, so pretty high. I thought it
Oh
was
my goodness. So
yeah. I thought it was really funny and I thought the animation was very inventive and creative. I thought that the I thought they were successful in creating a Roger Rabbit-ish feel to it, which was their goal, and I think they did a good job with it. And I won't spoil like some of the cameos, but some of them really surprised me. So if you can get away without finding out, you probably have a little bit more fun. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I have no attachment to the original show. I don't know if that helps me or hurts me, but I thought it was charming. I really enjoyed it. I laughed a lot.
Yeah,
so I recommend it.
Back to my Guy Ritchie point really quick. It feels like starting in 2020, he was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to go back to doing me. And so The Gentleman was a real return to like his train spotting type of form, which I've only really seen clips of, but what I have seen, I've really enjoyed. I do want to do what I finally watched for Train Spotting. That is definitely on my list.
Is Train Spotting Guy Ritchie?
Oh no, wait, that's Danny Boyle. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I haven't seen it, so
but
cool.
But it was definitely a return to form for Ritchie. That's my point.
Cool. I think it's Rock, Stock, and Barrel, isn't that?
Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
That was Guy Ritchie, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Jeremiah says, I was confused for a second when Ryan said he was watching classic Twilight. Goodness, those movies are bad. Twilight Zone is a delight. I think that we all know that Ryan's a secret Twilight fan. He watches them.
Well,
doesn't want to admit it.
I've actually never seen the movies. I've been tempted to watch them, to review them, just to see if maybe, because Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart have both gone through creative renaissances, so maybe I was judging the book from the cover. That was not a that was not a figurative, or not a literal. That was a figurative. But I actually wanted to do it last year, but I was like, no, I just can't. But one day I think I might, just to see what all the hubbub was about.
Well, I have seen them all, and they're not good movies, but I do think sometimes maybe they're slightly overhated, just like a little bit. I certainly wouldn't recommend them, but they're not like the worst. They're not like Freddy Got Fingered bad, I mean, I think we need to like they're not the best, but I don't know. Little
Considering
perspective.
the fact that Pattinson is now Batman and Kristen Stewart has been nominated for an Oscar for Spencer, I mean, the two have definitely come back from where they were.
It was a Freudian slip. Oh no. And our friend Aaron says hello to two of my favorite movie reviewers. Very nice. Thank you so much.
Shout out to you, Aaron. He's always commenting on my Twilight Zone videos. He's great.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, my first one is definitely borderline hidden gem, but just in this sense that I don't think people know that it's on this platform. It is the recent film, just came out a couple of months ago, is The Lost City. Is now on, you can watch it on Paramount Plus. And I don't know if that many people realize that it's on there because it was just barely in theaters. And
Jackass Forever is also on there as well.
Oh, right. And I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, I love Sandra Bullock, and it was like, yes, welcome back. Welcome back to Rom-Com World. We missed you so much. She made all her dramas and won her Oscar, and then she was doing Bird Box and movies like that. I was just so happy to have her back. I don't think she has like the greatest chemistry with Tatum, but they're fun. Brad Pitt is hilarious in his cameo. It definitely is paying homage to movies like Romancing the Stone. But I think we've gotten so few of those kind of movies, and it's been so long that it was refreshing and fun. And if you want to listen to a fun podcast, my friend Elisa and we did an adventure romance movie podcast where we had African Queen and The Lost City, and well, it was before The Lost City, so we didn't include The Lost City, but and we had there's a Nim's Island, Romancing the Stone. It was fun. So
Yeah, this was actually quite a pleasant surprise. I remember going into this not really knowing what to expect, and I actually had quite a bit of fun with it. It's not going to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. It had one job, and it did exactly that. And I
it made
think
me laugh. That was its job.
yeah, and I think with seeing men, I think what you said on your Twitter a long time ago about preferring formulaic but good over artistic and bad, it definitely applies to The Lost City, because you know exactly where this movie is headed, but it's fun and it's funny, and Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock have great chemistry together. Men is an original idea that looks beautiful, but is about as wide as an ocean, but as deep as a puddle.
And I think it has something a little bit to say about the way that we kind of turn our noses up at things that make women happy, like these books, these romance novels that must not be. But for some reason, as a society, we don't do that for stuff that's kind of somewhat puerile, that's made for men, as much. And so I appreciated how she comes to appreciate, everybody becomes to appreciate the romance novels by the end.
Yeah, and it took me a year and a half of watching the Food Network to realize that it's geared mostly towards women, and it didn't really bug me that I knew that. But I was just like, I mean, Chopped is an awesome show. It doesn't matter what gender you are; it should appeal to everyone. But that's a completely unrelated thing, sort of related, but not really related.
All right. Well, what's your next pick?
So my next choice is from 2016, and it is called Allied. This was directed by Robert Zemeckis. We all know who he is. It tells the story of a man and a woman who eventually become husband and wife, played by Brad Pitt and Marion Cotillard, respectively. They both work for the CIA, and I can't remember. They're both spies, and and during World War II, they end up getting married. However, Brad Pitt learns that his wife may or may not be a German spy, and he does not know how to take it. And so the movie's kind of about him wrestling with the whole: does he turn in the woman that he loves? Does he not? And things like that. Robert Zemeckis has definitely taken a step down in terms of his filmmaking. He's made some very weird choices, like especially in the 2000s. I mean, Polar Express, which I liked, but I mean, it's still a pretty weird movie. That Jim Carrey Christmas Carol, which is just
he went on that motion capture
stint. He got the mocap bug, let's just say that. But I mean, this dude did Back to the Future. He did Castaway. He did so many good things, and I think Allied is definitely the best of his most recent run. I like the story. I like this is the kind of period piece that I like, these like World War II, World War One type of movies. So this is definitely something that was meant for me.
Yeah. I mean, this is not a movie that I remember all that well. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was all right. It's pretty steamy, I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, The two make out in a
Yeah,
sandstorm, which
right.
I'm not sure if that's even feasible, but I'm
Like, I
sure
think
they
it's
sound okay.
literally steamy. There's literal steam.
Yeah, like Titanic.
Um, I remember thinking it was well done, well made, well acted. I, but it's just not one that's like stayed with me that I remember a whole lot about.
Mm.
Yeah, but I agree that Robert Zemeckis, he's one of those directors that has, I think, just struggled with the digital age. Him and Rob Reiner, Chris Columbus. There's like a whole crew of those kind of directors in the 80s, early 90s that just Tim Burton be another one. Spielberg to less of a degree. He's managed to make some pretty good movies, but yeah, I think a lot of those directors have somehow kind of struggled to transition to the 2000s way of making movies.
Yeah, and Zemeckis, he made a movie last year, that Witches movie that we reviewed on
That was
this show,
disappointing.
and I barely remembered that we did it. The reason I remember it is because I was watching a random Bill Maher video, and somewhere in that video he brought it up as like a, I can't even remember the context of it, but I was watching it, I was like, "Oh yeah, I did watch that." And
Excuse me.
bless you. And Robert Zemeckis directed it. I was like, "This is weird."
Yeah. Yeah, that was disappointing. It had so much potential. It could have been
Yeah.
really good. He's doing the Geppetto this year.
Which I don't know. Like, I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, I don't think a trailer's been released yet, so I will hold out hope until I see a trailer, but I'm not sure about that. I mean, I feel like I've been saying that a lot lately when things come up as like the new Daredevil that was just announced a day ago. I was like, I'm not confident, but I'm going to wait until I see a trailer. She-Hulk, kind of the same thing. The trailer was like, oh, this is crap. And I was like, I want to wait till I watch the show before I have an opinion. I feel like I'm saying that more and more.
Yeah. I'm still hopeful because I really like the She-Hulk comics. And I think that they're trying to get kind of a vintage look about it. And they still need work to even get there. But I think they're trying to go for like the old 70s Hulk, that kind of sort of in like Wonder Woman, a little bit of that aesthetic is what they're doing. But anyway, I didn't hate the trailer as much as everyone else seemed to, but
It was just
uh
okay.
what's that?
It was just okay. Like I
Yeah, I
said,
think
I want to wait
that's
until I
fair.
see the show first.
I thought it looked like it could be funny. So that, that makes me excited, but we'll see. All right. Well, my next pick is from one of the franchises that Paramount Plus has. That's their flagship franchise, I guess, is Star Trek, and it's Star Trek Beyond, which is the most recent Star Trek film. And I had a lot of fun with this film. I really liked the Sophia Botella and in her role, I forget her name, but I liked her character, and I thought the action was fun. I liked, I like Chris Pine in these movies. I like Carl Urban as Bones. Um, it was kind of Fast and the Furious in space. I can understand why some people were annoyed, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun time. But yeah.
Jayla, that was Sophia Botella's
Oh
character.
yeah, I liked her. I thought she was a good character. Uh, but yeah, it didn't do that well, but I enjoyed it.
You know, it's crazy to think that that movie came out in 2016. It's been 6 years since we've
Yeah.
gotten a Star Trek movie. It feels weird, but yeah,
Well, I mean,
I've
because we've gotten Discovery and
oh,
a
that's
bunch of other
true.
stuff.
And Strange New Worlds, which I don't know if that has started yet, but I've heard good things.
And then there was the Picard. I haven't watched the Picard. I watched 2 seasons of Discovery, and then I just ran out of time.
Yeah, fair
I have to
enough.
be
But
very careful about my TV time. I'm still trying to figure out. Now they announced that David Tennant is coming back for a special Doctor Who. It's like I gotta catch up. I gotta watch because I actually haven't seen the Tennant years, and so now I've got to figure out how the heck I'm going to fit 2 seasons of Doctor Who watching, and 3 seasons actually. How am I going to fit that in? I don't know, but anyway, just hard. That's the part about television. They announced that Stranger Things season 4, each episode's going to be like crazy lengths. Did you see that?
I did see that, but I actually haven't watched. I've watched Stranger Things season 1, but I watched one
Oh.
episode of 2, and then I just never got back on it again. I know there was something
Mm.
about a mall in season 3, or no, wait, that was season 2, and then 3 had another thing. So I do need to catch up on that, but it's weird.
Yeah.
It's like they're treating these TV episodes like whole
Like
movies, and then
one
just
is over 2.5 hours long. One episode. Like, I can't. I don't
just
have
make it
time
into a
for that.
movie then. I mean, it worked.
It
It
is a
worked for
movie.
Downton Abbey. I was like, come on.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy, but anyway, I liked the Star Trek movie. I thought it was good.
My,
And so
my favorite scene in that movie is when Spock and Bones are crash landed on the planet and Spock gets hurt and Bones has to cauterize the wound and
oh
they're
yeah.
going back and forth and Bones is like, "Hey Spock, what's your favorite color?" And Spock is like, "I have no idea what that means to." And then Spock's like, "Ah!" and Bones is like, "You're welcome." I'm like,
Yeah.
that's just great. Carl Urban was awesome in that role. He really was.
I agree. I agree. Well, you have a Star Trek on your picks. Is that
Yes,
right?
I do. This one is Star Trek First Contact. Now, I was debating whether or not to choose this because this is very well regarded amongst Star Trek fans. So putting it on there is like, really, is it hidden? But at the same
Well,
time,
it's by far the best of the Next Generation
oh
movies.
yeah,
By far.
by a significant margin. And
Yeah.
it's a great Star Trek movie, like regardless of whether you're considering original crew, next generation crew. It's just a great Star Trek movie, period. There are so many great scenes in this, like the scene where where Picard and the woman, I can't think of her name right now, but they're going back and forth on like abandoning ship, abandoning the Enterprise, and Picard's like, "No, I won't do it," and then it leads to the epic line of, "You must draw the line here, this far, no further." And it's like that's a great delivery there, and the Borg are just terrifying in this. I have not seen all of Next Generation, so I haven't seen the Between Two Worlds or Best of Both Worlds episodes, but my only exposure to the Borg has been First Contact, and my word, the Borg are just horrifying sounding. Just being a part of that just collective where you have like no free will. It's almost like a fate worse than death if you think about it.
Yeah.
And to think that
It's
Picard was actually a part of that for some time as
mhm.
Locutus, it's just like, whoa, it takes some real mental strength on the part of Picard to get himself out of that.
Yeah. It's a really good one. I haven't watched it for a while, but I did a series on all the Star Trek movies with my friend Tom, and we had a lot of fun. So there's a whole playlist if people want to of my introduction to Star Trek. Uh, it's one of the better ones for sure. All right. Well, my next pick is very random. They have Father's Little Dividend, which I don't think that they have the parent not Parent Trap. I don't think they have the Father of the Bride movies, but they do have Father's Little Dividend, which is the sequel to the original Father of the Bride with Spencer Tracy and Elizabeth Taylor. And it's pretty similar actually to the sequel to the Steve Martin one, except for in this one only Elizabeth Taylor gets pregnant. They don't both get pregnant.
Oh,
But it's cute. It's a cute little movie. I like it's amazing how much is similar between the original Father of the Bride and the remake, and then also the sequel and the remake. They're pretty similar. Um, he is very there's one part where he's very weird about the fact that she's having a child, and he can't seem to accept the fact that his daughter is having relations, like even though she's married. Um, anyway, he's weird about it, and then at one point he actually loses the baby, and is freaking out and everything. It's kind of a weird scene, but anyway, there's also this whole fantasy scene where he's like, or maybe that's in the first one. I think they have a fantasy scene in both of them. They're fun movies, and it's kind of fun to compare and contrast. I did a ranking with my friend Marissa over on Hallmarkies podcast where we ranked all 4 and we talked about them. And then there's a new Father of the Bride coming out in June. I'm very suspect of it, but I will I will check it out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you thought of that, and it was like, Andy Garcia is a really charismatic actor. If anyone can make it work, it's him. But at the
Yeah, I
same
love
time, it's like,
he's great. I mean, one thing that's weird, I think, about rom-coms is they seem to be able to be remade better than almost any other genre. They seem to transfer quite well. But so maybe, I don't know, but I kind of feel like they were like hiding this. I never even heard. I didn't know what's happening. They're putting it on HBO Max. It's not getting in a theater, so I'm guessing it's not the best, but who knows?
yeah, it's a real canary in the coal mine,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Well, what is your next pick?
So my next choice, and these next 2 are going to be TV series. So the first one is one that lasted only 2 seasons and is the Jim Gaffigan Show. Now, I love me some Jim Gaffigan. I actually saw him live in 2018 or 19, and he was just really funny. And so this show is basically him acting out a lot of his stand-up bits, like his love of food and like his whole thing with parties, and how he's just not a fan of birthday parties because he has to talk to people. And he has a wife who is way out of his league. So it's like, how are you two even married? And so that's a fun dynamic. She has a gay friend who the two of them, Jim and the gay friend, butt heads. There's the priest who's always getting involved, and I love Jim Gaffigan's like Catholic jokes. They're not insulting, but it's like they're super funny. There is one where he asked the question, "You think Jesus ever got tired of the apostles following him?" And he'd snap and be like, "Stop following me! Will one of you shave? We look like a homeless football team." I love that stuff.
So is this stand-up or is this like a sitcom?
It's a sitcom, but
Okay.
it's heavily inspired by Gaffigan's jokes.
Okay. Like
And
Seinfeld.
so it's definitely for me.
Cool. All right, good. All right. Well, my 4th pick is a movie called Florence Foster Jenkins, and this stars Meryl Streep, and
As
she
the world's worst singer.
is the world's worst singer. And I think this movie's actually better than you think from the trailer. I mean, we all know that Meryl Streep is going to give a good performance. She always does a good job. I can't think of a single one where I've been like, she was terrible. But it actually is a little bit more interesting than you'd think, because particularly the marriage between Hugh Grant's character and Florence Foster Jenkins, because she clearly loves him and he has sympathy for her. He doesn't really love her, but it's a little bit hard to pin down how much he's taken advantage of her, if he's taken advantage of her at all. It seems like she is aware that he doesn't really love her. And so she's like complicit in him kind of enabling her. And I don't know, they just have a weird relationship. It's very strange. And I found that kind of fascinating. And I liked that. It was interesting to me. So I enjoyed it. And I thought it was, funny and I haven't seen it for a while, but I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I liked it. I thought it was an interesting character study.
Yeah, I like this one too. And also shout out to Simon Helberg, who was Howard in The Big Bang Theory. He
Mhm.
was Cosme in this, and I enjoyed his performance here as well. And it's one of those things where it's like we've always had a fascination with those who think they're great, but in reality they're like the pits. I mean, see The Room or Plan 9 for Outer Space if you want proof of that.
Yeah, I
So
mean, Will Ferrell plays those kind of characters all the time. These characters that think that they're like the greatest or whatever, they have like full confidence, but they're really terrible in reality, and everybody knows it. I mean, but this is actually a true story.
yeah, so recent phenomenon of like pointing and laughing at things and be like so bad it's good. It's been around. It's just the
Yeah.
medium is different.
Yeah, she was like the Rebecca Black of
You imagine her seeing Friday
1920s.
for Chinese food.
But they even have like recordings and stuff that she made, and she was so terrible.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I think it's a one that people should check out. I liked it. So what is your last pick?
So my last choice, and this is again, I'm pushing the envelope a bit because this is a show that is ongoing, but I guess I chose this because I guess to profess my love of the thing that this is spinning off from. My last pick is Young Sheldon. I have a bit of a confession to make. I love The Big Bang Theory.
Me too.
I know that people hate it. I know they're like, "Oh, it's just geek," like geek cliches, it's like things like that. And it's like I've watched every episode of the show. The the people there do get into sticky situations like every sitcom. That's kind of
Right.
the point. But it's like when people say, "Oh, they make fun of nerds," but every main character in this has some level of success. Like the four main dudes, Leonard, Howard, Raj, and Sheldon, all of them are incredibly successful and they happen to be very passionate about the things that they love.
Well,
Honestly,
and same with all of the women.
yeah, exactly. I was
Hmm.
just getting to that.
Yeah, that whole stupid video that they did about that was supposedly like breaking down Big Bang
Oh
Theory.
god, yeah,
You
I
could
remember.
literally do that with any single sitcom. If
Yeah.
you pluck jokes out of any sitcom, you're gonna make the characters seem misogynistic or terrible or whatever, because that's what makes things funny is people screwing up and saying stupid things and being kind of like, I mean, if you take anything out of context, it can be made to look bad. That's what I think.
Some people need to realize that it's a TV show. It's not meant to be real. It's like,
It's just supposed to make you laugh, and that show did make me laugh. I really enjoyed it, and I feel like it had like a second uh wave when they brought on the women.
yeah. Mhm.
And there's almost two parts of the show, and so it didn't have for a while they were getting a too Sheldon heavy, because he was
Mm.
getting the Emmys and everything like that, and it lost that ensemble feel. But then when they brought the women, it got it back to it, and I felt like there was a whole new kind of thing. And I thought the finale of Big Bang Theory was excellent.
Yeah.
It did exactly what you want a finale to do. It satisfied all of the characters. It made you feel good. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, and I chose Young Sheldon because I actually quite enjoyed it,
Yeah.
and it's gotten a few seasons deep now, and I was like, oh, the novelty's gonna wear off eventually.
Yeah.
But no, I actually am getting into
Yeah.
young Sheldon and his brother and sister and the parents. I know so many people in my church who are like Mary Cooper, and I won't name names here, but whenever I see Mary Cooper doing her thing, I'm like,
Yeah.
yep, that's that person that I know.
I haven't seen that much of it, but what I have seen, I enjoyed, and I've been meaning to catch up. It's just so
Yeah,
hard with shows,
it's
but
getting real interesting. I won't say anything more than
mm,
that, but
yeah,
for a show that's essentially trying to carry on from the success of the original, they're actually doing a lot more with the premise than I thought it would. I thought it would just be young Sheldon doing his young Sheldonisms in late 80s Texas. And I'm like riveting. But no,
mhm,
they're actually getting into some pretty good storylines. I
yeah,
like that. I
yeah,
like the spirit of that.
right. We got some comments. We have Tim Gaffigan is funny from Aaron Miller.
Sure
Yep,
is.
he's funny.
Hot
Uh,
pocket.
I think it's him who has the whole thing about just begging his child to put on their shoes.
Well, he has one about putting his kids to bed and his like terrorist negotiations. He
Yeah.
just stay in there. We'll do
We'll t
whatever you
Yeah.
want. Just stay in.
You get to bargaining.
Yeah.
Jeremiah says, Meryl Streep rocks. Have either of you seen The Prom? It's one of my favorite Meryl Streep movies and one of my favorite Netflix movies. I have seen The Prom and I thought it was sweet. It's a very fun little story based on true story of this girl who wants to go to prom with her girlfriend. And these, I kind of wish that it had just more stayed on that story versus the celebrities, the Broadway stars coming. But they were harmless and fun, and it's got some nice little bops. I enjoyed it. But I'm an easy sell when it comes to musicals.
Yeah, that's
You're like, yes, that's true. uh, it says,
sold.
The Prom looks like it has a really good cast. Yeah, there's no question about that. It's got Nicole Kidman and Meryl Streep and um, I'm trying to remember everybody else, but that alone, there you go. So let's see here. I think there's some really great acting in Young Sheldon.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's very well done.
Yeah, and also shout out to the guy who plays Sheldon's father. I think his name is Lance Barber. Like
Oh,
he's really good in there as well. I love how kind of Texas like he is. Like he's like on the eighth day God created football or whatever, and he's such the stereotypical like Texas dad. Is like all he needs to do is like sell propane grills and he'd be Hank Hill. Like God dang it, Bobby.
yeah. Well, my last pick is a funny, goofy movie called Soap Dish. And it is about these stars on this soap opera and their crazy shenanigans. It's really funny. It's got a great cast with Sally Field and Kevin Kline, Robert Downey Jr., Terry Hatcher, Whoopi Goldberg, Kathy and Jimmy. It's really funny, and what made me think about it again was last year on Hallmark Channel they did this soap opera, this romance about these two soap opera stars, and it was starring Ryan Pavey and Jen Lilly, who are both former soap opera stars. And so I was like, oh, it's going to be so funny. This will be like Hallmark Soap Dish. Not so much. It
Mhm.
wasn't. It wasn't at all. It was very boring and took itself very seriously, and it wasn't funny or campy or anything. I was so disappointed. So that made me look back at Soap Dish and how good it is. So
Looking at the cast list, it was like, hey, this is another movie starring a pre-Iron Man Robert Downey Jr. Is like there's a generation of people who just know him as like, oh, he was just Iron Man forever. But no, he
mhm.
was in this, he was in Ally McBeal, he was in Chaplin, which he nearly won an Oscar for. Like, I love Chaplin so much. I think it's so good. Is like the dude is talented. I guess that's my point.
Yeah, really talented, very funny. You forget that he can be quite funny. He was on Saturday Night Live
That's
one
true, yes.
season. Yeah. Carrie Fisher's in this. I mean, it just has an incredible cast. So
Yeah, this was
check
in
it out.
81, so this would be a year after Empire. So like Carrie Fisher was I must imagine she must have been red hot by this point.
Yeah, definitely. So that's my last pick. So I guess we did it.
There we go.
So I'll go over my picks. I have The Lost City, Star Trek Beyond, Father's Little Dividend, Florence Foster Jenkins, and Soap Dish.
And I had Wrath of Man, Allied, Star Trek First Contact, The Jim Gaffigan Show, and Young Sheldon.
Yeah. All right. Well, very good. This was so much fun. Thanks for your comments. Very much appreciate it. And I'm actually going after this. I'm going to do a live stream with Jacob Martin over on his channel. So if y'all want to follow me over there, if you want to talk about You've Got Mail, which why wouldn't you? Great movie. So, but I should also say, I hope you had a great birthday. You just passed this last weekend.
Yeah, and I'm officially a week into. As of tomorrow, I am 1 week into my 25th year on this planet, and
Wow.
I made it a quarter century, and I'm incredibly grateful for making it this far, and I'm just
Yeah.
looking forward to what comes next.
Great. Well, I'm glad you had a good birthday. Happy birthday. And thanks for doing this with me. I always really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm coming out to see you in less than a month,
Yeah.
so that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. And we're going to do live stream next week. And I thought we maybe would preview the 4 shows that we're going to see and the race.
Oh yeah,
That would be
for
fun.
sure.
So, all right. Well, thanks so much. And we'll talk to y'all later.
Wait, plugs though.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. How can people find you, Ryan?
People can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at RyanCam20. There's, of course, my YouTube channel, which is just called Ryan Cam. On Monday, I dropped my thank you, Aaron, for that. On Monday, I dropped my Twilight Zone video for the episode of Penny for Your Thoughts. This coming Monday, I'll be talking about the episode called 22. On Wednesday, I did my Life in the Movies podcast with Jacob Martin, where we talked about this article that I found 18 great movies that were never made. Among those movies in the article were a Gladiator sequel from Ridley Scott that would have featured, and I'm not kidding, a resurrected Maximus Meridius killing Jesus and living from the Crusades to the Vietnam War. And the movie would have been called Christ Killer. Thank God it never got made. And then George Miller's Justice League was in there, and Stanley Kubrick's Napoleon biopic was in there. It was just so much fun to see Jacob's reaction to some of those, especially the Gladiator one. And then the next week we're going to be talking about more that I found, because I found another article saying the 35 greatest movies that never got made. So I'm sure there's going to be some overrun, but it's going to be fun to talk about. And then last night I dropped my review for Men. Please go check it out. I had a lot of fun making it. I will be seeing Downton Abbey: A New Era tomorrow with my mom, and then I'll be dropping a review for that. And then on Sunday, be continuing my Jurassic World preview series by my review of The Lost World Jurassic Park, which is actually pretty good, but InGen is just the dumbest company in movie history. That's all I will say, but that'll explain more of that in the video. So if you haven't checked me out, please do.
Very good. Yeah, you should all check it out. And you can find me, of course, here at Rachel's Reviews on iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. And then also my written reviews. And we're going to be having fun continuing on Muppet May. And I've really been enjoying that. Got a lot of great responses. They've all done, all the videos have done really well. So that makes me happy. And next week it'll be the new Haunted Mansion. Muppets Haunted Mansion. So that will be fun. So lots of good stuff going on. Check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. Bye.
Bye.